Okay, this is the Corneilous Houghtelin Farm Part 18 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we're looking here at this little cottage style house here, which sits right here on the Emmitsburg Road. And you can see the sign for the Battlefield B&B, which is a Civil War house with 10 guest rooms, dog, pet-friendly, daily history programs, weddings, and a honeymoon cottage. Which you see here, there's a cottage inside the barn called the tack room. This cottage that sits out here on the road is actually known as the Swan Cottage. And we're going to take a walk over to the house. I do want to point out that this is the entrance to the Corneilous Houghtelin farm up this road. This is the original Corneilous Houghtelin farm lane, and though it is paved right here, as you go back about a quarter mile, it is an original dirt road, which we looked at in an earlier video. It is so close to the national park. South Calvary Battlefield is literally right here by that telephone pole and extends right to here. As you can see, one of the National Park Service U.S. boundary signs that sit here right on the road. So the Battlefield B&B literally sits directly across from the National Park Service property in South Calvary Field. And there are plenty of signs out here on the Emmitsburg Road for the Battlefield B&B. Now, this little cottage, the neat thing about it, the Swan Cottage, is that this house has not always been here. It was moved here in the 1960s. This house sat one time further up the Emmitsburg Road near where Confederate Avenue meets the Emmitsburg Road. There was a little village that had sprung up from 1930s all the way up until 2012 when the Reaver House, or 2010 rather, when the Reaver House was torn down. And that little village was called Pinchgut. And this was one of the homes that sat in the town of Pinchgut. And Pinchgut pretty much extended from the Sherfy Peach Orchard all the way down to where the Alexander Curran's farm is, or not too far from where today the National Park Service rest station. And it was a bunch of homes. There was a Stuckey's ice cream shop, a gift shop, a gas station, and a Lee Mead Hotel that sat in front of the Round Tops on the Rose Farm area. And of course, preservation has had a fit because their battlefield was now being overrun by homes and a town was actually being built. So what happened? The park began to eminent domain and buy land and raise the homes, taking down businesses, the ice cream shop, the gift shop, the gas stations. And one by one, and finally in 2010, the Reaver House, that was owned by a local resident after he passed away, the park received the ground, and of course they raised that house. All the houses that once were in Pinchgut are gone. They were razed, bulldozed, or taken down. The only one that survives is the Swan Cottage, and that is this house here. It is part of the Corneilous Houghtelin farm and a part of the Battlefield B&B. This house was moved on a flatbed truck to this location in the 1960s. And when you stay here at the Corneilous Houghtelin farm, known as the B&B, you can actually rent out the Swan Cottage as well. And be a little bit away from the farm and along the Emmitsburg Road. It is a very pretty house. It's got a bunch of rose bushes around it, and we're going to walk to the back of it here. But this, though it has no Civil War history, it does kind of have the secret to the battlefield history to it. It is the only surviving house from the town of Pinchgut, which was once a town that sprung up on the Emmitsburg Road and no longer exists today. This has been the Corneilous Houghtelin Farm, Part 18, the Swan Cottage, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Corneilous Houghtelin Farm, Part 19, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we are now looking southbound on the Emmitsburg Pike. And we're going to talk about, we're going to give you a direction of the area that Merritt's Brigade advanced from toward our camera on the afternoon and evening of July 3rd, 1863. Just in the distance back there where you can see the cars was the advance of Merritt's brigade in this direction along the Emmitsburg Road and by the Corneilous Houghtelin farm, which is down this farm lane here on the distance. We talked about in an earlier video how this area was named Wintrode Ridge. Well, the ridge that you see in front of us here, the high point, is Wintrode Ridge, and the Henry Wintrode house sits just on the other side of the ridge there. That is the original part of the farm that would later become the Corneilous Houghtelin farm. The farm actually went back to the 1760s in William Penn's manor of Mask and encompassed all this area that you see here. And of course, in the late 1700s and the early 1800s, a lot of the manor of Mask lots were sold off to different families. Of course, in 1808, the land was sold off, and then in 1809, the Corneilous Houghtelin stone house was actually built in the year 1809, though he wasn't a occupant during that year. He didn't occupy it to 1850. But this area here is Wintrode Ridge. It sits here on the Emmitsburg Road, just about a mile south of Big and Little Round Top here on the Emmitsburg Pike. Again, this has been Wintrode's Ridge, Corneilous Houghtelin Farm, Part 19 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Farm Part 20 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And in an earlier part, we talked about the Corneilous Houghtelin farm lane, which was a lane that the 1st Texas wanted to take on July 2nd, 1863, to try to get behind Federal troops on the Round Tops. And we looked at that road by the house. Now we are continuing on that road. Up in the distance is the modern-day Ridge Road. To our left is the Gettysburg Battlefield Resort. But this is one of the old roads that led to the backside of the Round Tops and Bushman Hill. So this has been the Corneilous Houghtelin Farm, a portion of the old Corneilous Houghtelin Farm Road, or otherwise known as the Road to the Right, here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Okay, this is going to be the Corneilous Houghtelin Farm Part 21 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, and also Secrets of the Battlefield. We have continued on the path. We came across from where our last video was shot, across Ridge Road, and up the old road to the right, or the Corneilous Houghtelin farm lane, the origination from the farm lane to the detachment 1st and 2nd U.S. regiments of United States Cavalry marker. This road would continue on to the backside of Bushman Hill and Little Round Top. I also noticed while out here some of the original stone that sat along the side of the road, which is here in the woods. And you can see it just goes right on down, right by here. And this is one of these roads, again, as I stated in an early Houghtelin farm video, that this is one of the only original Civil War style roads left in Gettysburg, not paved, and some of the original trace of that road that used to exist here. This has been the Corneilous Houghtelin Farm, Part 21 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Okay, this is going to be the Corneilous Houghtelin Farm, Part 22 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we're here at the corner of Emmitsburg Road and Ridge Road. This house that's the office for the Gettysburg Battlefield Resort, actually, the stone house behind it is the Emanuel G. Trossel house. And this is actually the spot where, as we mentioned in an earlier video, when Corneilous Houghtelin was captured by Confederate forces, he was taken to this house and interviewed, and that was where he found out that the Confederate major was a Freemason, and that he was a Freemason, and after giving the Masonic distress call, identifying himself as a master Mason and a trusted brother, he was set free from this house with his rifle and allowed to walk about a half a mile up the road back to his home, and where he was told to stay in the basement with his family for the remainder of the battle. Out of the 5 civilians captured during the Battle of Gettysburg, Corneilous Houghtelin was the only civilian that was let go, and especially the only civilian caught with arms here at the Battle of Gettysburg. This has been the Corneilous Houghtelin farm here at the Emanuel Trossel House, part 22 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook.